in the first few hours from 10 p.m. or so on November 26th till about 2 a.m. In those 4 hours, there were multiple attacks in different parts of Mumbai, from Kolaba all the way up to Santa Cruz. Therefore, the immediate response of the local police was to deal with the situation and respond. And I think when the ATS was also called in to look at what was happening in the hotels where the hostages were taken, the manner in which I think they responded, on one hand, it is commendable that the police officers of Maharashtra led from the front. We have people like Hemant Karkare and others. But in reflecting on this entire episode, I think there was a case clearly for perhaps more objective assessment about the nature of the threat, which at that time I don't think anybody had an idea as to the scale with which the terrorists had planned this entire operation. So I think on balance it would be fair to say that yes, there could have been greater assessment of the event, there could have been greater coordination with the other agencies, whether it was the military or the central forces in Delhi. And these are the kind of areas and lessons that I think the tragedy of Bombay is going to throw up in the course of the next few days and weeks.
Mr. Bhaskar, the area that has been attacked on Oriman Point, it was very close to call Navy SEALs or the Navy Commandos. So I was kind of surprised. Why do you think the Navy Commandos were pulled in so late? I mean, they would have been the first people to arrive at that area, given the logistic.
Well, again, Biplab, the reason for this is that in India, what is seen as a law and order situation or any kind of terrorism or criminality is first addressed by the local authorities, which is, it's a state subject as the Constitution describes it, which means that the first response or reaction comes from the Maharashtra state and its local police. If there is a need to call the military, in this case the Navy, which is the large service which is present in Mumbai, the headquarters of the Western Naval Command, there has to be a certain consultation between Mumbai, which is the capital of the Maharashtra state, and the state government, with the central government in Delhi, and Delhi in turn will direct the Ministry of Defence to ask the Navy to step in. So this takes time, and in the past we know, even from the Kargil experience, that the Indian machinery, the official machinery, has not been very nimble. Coordination between agencies is a very, very big drawback in the Indian security establishment. And given the fact that this happened late at night, our ability to respond to disasters leaves a lot of room for improvement. And this is one of the reasons why the Indian military does not step in whenever there is an internal security situation, unless it is specifically directed by the central government. My own reading is that after what has happened in Mumbai, urban terrorism will have to be dealt with in a very, very quick and separate manner, and certain procedures would have to be drawn up, even if it means changing existing procedures of state-center consultation. If need be, there might even be a case for changing the law about law and order and terrorism, because there are two developments here. One is what you might call as the globalization now of security. So making distinctions of state-center in a country like India is perhaps no longer valid. And foreign governments also now have a stake. It's a bit like saying that if you have an American citizen or a French citizen, or for that matter, a African Asian citizen coming into India or to a city like Mumbai, the government of India has a responsibility to provide basic security. And the governments of these countries, the citizens, whichever countries they belong to, they also, I think, have a responsibility to be in touch with the government of India to ensure that basic security is provided. So under the circumstances, what I foresee, especially in a country like India, is that the armed forces are going to get perhaps more involved in the internal security dimension to deal with terrorism per se, the global and regional face of terrorism.
I have one simple question to cut you short here. It's very interesting that I thought, you're discussing along this line. So tell me, you're suggesting that FBI or Mossad or let's say that Indian security agencies should put together. Now if you look at our intelligence failure in Kargil, in Parliament attack, and now in Mumbai, do you think this failure has caused because we are not integrated with the global security system?
Short answer is yes. We need that kind of coordination with the global intelligence networks. And there has been a certain sensitivity and a certain reluctance on the part of the Indian government in its ability to interact with outside agencies and disseminate it in real time and in a manner that would be useful to state governments and down to what I would call as even the district level if need be. Now, this is paradoxical. India is considered to be an IT superpower. Indians are supposed to be very good at software and networking. Yet we have not used technology as effectively as we ought to. And these are some of the areas where I think much greater degrees of coordination and effective implementation of intelligence inputs is called for. And this, in many ways, Biplab, is also a challenge for many other democracies. It's true that Mumbai happened on a scale that no other country has experienced. That a whole city is almost held hostage or ransom for 3 days. But if a similar incident were to happen in any other comparable country or city in the world, you will find that many lessons are derived after the event in a post facto manner. So yes, India needs to get its act together. Much greater levels of coordination are required. But please, again, place the nature of the adversary also in context. If you look at what is emerging about the links with groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba, or for that matter, the larger Al-Qaeda kind of network in this part of the world, where there is an adversary who is determined to go down the Fidai route, that is to commit suicide if need be, for an objective that is very elusive. So I think we have to see this as an abiding challenge and therefore not allow immediate emotion. When we started our discussion, you spoke about how angry people are. And will the people of India, what will they do now? I think the people of India should really assert themselves through the democratic process to demand greater security from the establishment, that is the state and its various organs. And there are many, many areas, Biplab, that need to be improved. This is a country that's been dealing with terrorism for 20, 25 years. And yet, look at our legal system. You have the example of the Mumbai blasts of 1993. It took 14 years from 1993 to 2007 for the investigation to be completed and for the legal processes to be completed and the perpetrators to be brought to book. Now, that does not exude the determination of a country that wants to send a strong signal to would-be terrorists or perpetrators of such crimes that the state is serious. So these are the areas that I think we need to introspect very honestly and come up with solutions that would be partially or at least reasonably effective.
Mr. Bhaskar, I would like to address another big concern. We are talking about improving Indo-Pakistan relationship, but just other day I put up some of the videos where it is clearly seen in Pakistan mainstream media there is a widespread anti-India, anti-Hindu propaganda, very naked propaganda that goes on. And that happens, I know it's a state, I won't say it's private media, but still it is a mainstream media. Now, given the fact that there is such a deep level of hatred against India and the fact that this hatred is manufactured, how and what does this India-Pakistan better relationship means? I'm kind of a little bit confused because some of the videos that came to me that has been aired by mainstream Pakistani media is just awful in terms of anti-India propaganda.
Well, I agree with you. If you look at the way in which the Pakistani media has been reporting about India and how they have projected India and the bilateral relationship, it is true that they have taken a very virulent anti-India position. But of late, I would say over the last year, particularly since the Lal Masjid episode in Pakistan itself, I have seen signs of greater introspection, and some of the liberal spectrum within the Pakistani mainstream media, both print and audiovisual, has been a little more reflective and partially objective about the nature of India and the nature of the bilateral relationship. And even post-Mumbai, you can see that Pakistan has tried to be as positive and helpful as possible at the level of the state. My reading is that the emergence of a civilian leadership in Pakistan, Mr. Zardari and Mr. Gilani, is a very hopeful kind of sign. Within Pakistan, we have many, many forces, many well-established and deeply entrenched forces